Today is Tu B'Av. The Mishnah tells us in Tainis, Lo hoyu Yom Tov l'Yisrael ki Yom HaKippurim v'Tu B'Av, Chamisha Osa B'Av, the 15th day of Av. These were the two most special holidays during the year, Yom HaKippurim and Tu B'Av. So the Gemara asks, Yom Kippur, we understand why it was such a day, so special. It's Yom Slicha v'Kapara, it's a day of forgiveness, atonement. A person has endless debt, and within a 25-hour period, we're able to relieve ourselves of all that debt and be fully reinstated. It's understandable why it's the most special holiday. But what was so special about Tu B'Av? So the Gemara, in two locations, says a number of things happened to Tu B'Av. The one I want to speak about, it says it was the day, it was known as Yom Tavra de Maglo. It was the day of the breaking of the sickle. What does this mean? It was the day of the breaking of the sickle. So Gemara explains that we know that the Leviim had certain responsibilities in the Beis HaMikdash. They sang, they played musical instruments, they were shoarim, they were the gatekeepers, but also one thing they did, the wood that was needed for the Mizbeach, if it had worms, it did not qualify to Mizbeach. So the wood had to be dewormed. So they would have a special tool, which was called a maglo, similar to a sickle, and they would deworm the wood to qualify for the Mizbeach. This was the responsibility of the Leviim. And until Tesvav B'Av, till the 15th of Av, they were able to do this. Why? Because the sun there was a certain level of intensity of heat, the rays, the way it shined. There wasn't a proliferation of these worms, so they were able to deworm it. After this time, because the sun started to wane, because the angle of the sun is slightly off from the Tesvav of onward, so therefore they stopped deworming the wood because there was a certain moisture in the wood, and the wood going forward didn't qualify for the Mizbeach any longer. So because they no longer had to do this, it was a holiday, a national holiday for Klal Yisrael. What's a national holiday? So there's a Rabbeinu Gershom in Bava Basra who explains, we know that the Leviim, they're the Shevet, they are designated for the study of Torah. And because they had to interrupt their Torah study for this, we say that a mitzvah which cannot be delegated to another party, you're obligated to interrupt your Torah study. But now that they no longer had this responsibility, they were able to be fully reinstated to their Libera Torah, to the Torah study. This was a national holiday for Klal Yisrael. The level that they revered and they valued Torah, now that the Leviim, although all Jews studied, but the Leviim being the tribe designated for Limud Torah, they could be fully engaged, involved in Limud Torah without any level of distraction. This is a national holiday. That's the reason why it was one of the most special Yom Tovim together with Yom Kippur. So we have two special holidays. One's Yom Kippur, Yom Slicha v'Kapora, and this other day, Tu B'Av. It asked the question before Tisha B'Av. The Gemara tells us that the Beis HaMikdash was Nechrav, the first Beis HaMikdash, first temple, because of Gila Resh V'Chzdam Avodah Zarah, because the Jews violated the three cardinal sins. Yet the Gemara tells us to other locations based on the pasuk, it's because Ozmas Torosi, because the Jews abandoned the Torah, and the Gemara explains, Lo Bircha B'Torah Tchila, they did not predicate that Torah study on the Birchas HaTorah. And as we mentioned, the Rabbeinu Yonah, the Ran cites the Rabbeinu Yonah HaChosid, that because the emphasis was not for the sake of Kiyum mitzvah, fulfill mitzvahs, but rather was the intellectual pursuit, therefore, as a result of that, was considered the abandonment of Torah. Because they did not study the Torah for the sake of the Torah, for the sake of the mitzvahs. It was lacking in the quality, the spiritual quality of the mitzvah. So is it A or is it B? So what we explained, that the Gemara tells a number of locations, that the only antidote that can incapacitate the Yetzer Hara is only Torah itself. Torah that's studied properly, within a certain mindset, a certain context. And they couldn't figure it out. How did the Jews sink to a level that they should violate three cardinal sins where 24 hours a day the voice and sound of Torah is booming. And they couldn't figure it out until HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, Al-Ozmas Torasi. It may be booming, but the question is, what is the spiritual quality of that Torah? So because it was not the Tavlin, it was not the antidote, therefore, as a result of that, it was a slippery slope and they violated the 3 cardinal sins. Now, to be able to do proper tshuva on Yom Kippur, you have to relate and understand, as Rabbi Yonah says, you have to have hakor sachet. The prerequisite to tshuva is you have to recognize your spiritual failing. To recognize that, we're not speaking about a slip service. I understood I did the wrong thing. It's to be able to internalize what one's spirituality is and to relate why that's considered a spiritual failing. That's what Yom Kippur is about. That's Yom Slicha v'Kapora. And therefore the Gemara says in Yuma that a person does tshuva mi'ava, one does tshuva out of a state of avas Hashem. We say that zdonas nas kezochios, that even the deliberate violation becomes a mitzvah. And one who does it miyira, then it's shkogus nas kezochios. Only the inadvertent becomes a mitzvah. The deliberate doesn't become the mitzvah. So, but how does one have that appreciation for what Yom Kippur is? It's only if you value and esteem Torah at that special level, and you study it, and you're machzik, you support Torah, only then do you have the capacity to have that appreciation. And when you have that capacity to have that appreciation, then you observe a proper Yom Kippur. So therefore they're linked. There are 2 days which are the most joyous days, the greatest holidays. Yom Kippurim, because it's Yom Slicha v'Kapora. But that Yom Slicha v'Kapora, qualitatively speaking, could only come about only because there was a Tu B'Av, that they valued Torah, and therefore it was a true Tavlin, it was the antidote to the Yetzer Hara.